How's it going, AIDA fans? Welcome to the full in-depth tutorial of the CCU-IP. From head to toe, we'll be talking about how to connect PTZ cameras, what features you can control, as well as the web settings of our new CCU-IP. Feel free to use the timestamps allotted below if you need to find anything specific, but other than that, let's get started. AIDA imaging. So to start off this in-depth guide, we're going to start with the unboxing of the CCU-IP itself. Pull back two of these tabs right here, and we're going to remove the sticker tape that keeps the product safe. And then we're going to be met with our thank you to you. So if you want to find the guide, you can go ahead and use the QR code right here. If you want to share your experience, you can go ahead and use hashtag AIDAinspire, and we'll be sure to retweet it on our social media accounts. And then we have our AIDA imaging support email, as well as our telephone number, so you can reach us if you have any problems with the CCU-IP itself. Now if we open it up, we're going to find the power supply, as well as a bag to keep any cables or any loose cables that you want to keep with this guy. And then the moment you've been waiting for, right below all of this packaging, will be the CCU-IP itself. Now that we have our CCU-IP unboxed, let's take a closer look at how the layout is. Alright, now to start the features off, we're going to start with the joystick. So the joystick right here has a comfortable hand rest, so you can put your hand here for precision. This goes up, down, left, right, also diagonals of course. You can also do some zoom, so if you want to twist this to the right, you're going to go ahead and telly in. If you go ahead and go to the left, you can zoom out. If you don't like to telly via this, you can also use the knobs at the bottom right here. So if you want to go wide, go ahead and widen it out, or telly the camera. When we start at the top left, we're going to go ahead and we're going to see the camera parameters. So we have white balance change, so you can change the mode or set it to auto. We have exposure change, brightness priority, iris priority. You have R gain, blue gain for white balance. You have your PT speed, zoom speed, as well as 7 camera choices. So you can have up to 7 cameras connected to this guy, either IP or serial. You have your specific AIDA commands, such as your preset speed up, preset speed down, freeze preset. You have your menu options for the PTZ camera itself. You have some generic PTZ options, such as the focus, backlight, flip, mirror. And then you have your setup for the actual CCU-IP itself. You have your home button, which then leads you to the PTZ home setting. You have set and reset for presets. So each of these keys can be defined as a preset, so that's up to 10 presets per camera. You have your escape and enter as well if you are changing settings in the config of the CCU-IP. So now that we have the layout all squared away, let's go see how to power this. So the 2 ways to do it would be either the DC 12 volt that came with the camera right here, or PoE. So in this case, we're going to use the DC 12 just because it's the easiest one to use, but feel free to use any PoE or PoE plus switch to power on the CCU-IP. So upon first glance, as soon as it initializes, it's going to start up the CCU-IP itself, and boot time shouldn't take that long, and you'll know it's ready when you see the buttons light up. Now depending if it's connected to a camera or not, it'll display information depending on what the camera settings are. Now that the CCU-IP is all powered up, let's go ahead and see how to connect some PTZ cameras to it. We're going to start off by talking about serial connection. So starting off with the serial connection, we're going to go ahead and take our PTZ X12 IP right here, and we're going to power it on. So we're going to power this guy via PoE, and we're going to take the RS-232 cable that came with the PTZ X12 IP. So this is a Visca 9 to a DB8 pin right here, and all you need to do is just connect it to the back of the controller, the DB9 part, and then connect the DB8 part to the back of the in portion of the PTZ. Now if you want to run multiple PTZs, you're going to go ahead and you're going to get one of these guys, or a CBL RJ45 adapter, so that you can run multiple daisy chains across other PTZs as well. But that's for another tutorial. Now that we have the RS-232 cable connected, we're going to go ahead and configure the CCU-IP, that way it could read the camera itself. So we're going to enter the setup of the CCU-IP, and we're going to be met with a list of commands here. We're going to look for add serial device, so that's second on the list. So use the joystick to navigate, press enter right here by pushing this button or by pushing this button at the bottom. And you're gonna see that the serial device will now ask for a camera. So the camera number right here is gonna be a 1 digit, 1 through 7. This will determine which camera will be placed here. So in this case, we want it to be number 1. So we press 1 here. It'll see camera 1. You can press enter here, or you can press enter at the bottom. Next, it'll show you the protocol. So in this case, we're using Visca, but there is Pelco D and Pelco P. Next is the address. So the address is the address that's set on the PTZ itself. Our default PTZ address is just 1, so in this case, it'll be 1. If you have multiple PTZs and you're trying to do daisy chaining, then you're going to need to change those addresses according to which they are on the chain. So if you have a second camera running from the out of the first camera to that one, then you're going to change that one to 2 and 3 and so on. But in this case, since it's 1, we're just going to put 1. Last is the baud rate, and the baud rate default for our PTZ is going to be 9600, but you have plethora of options if you don't want to use that. So 9600. Once you press enter, it's going to say setting successful, and it will lead you back to here. So this is just quickly if you want to add more serial devices in chain. If not, we're going to press escape, and we're going to press escape one more time to exit the menu. And now you know that it's connected. You'll see these lights turn on. That means successful communication because the controller is relayed commands from the PTZ saying, hey, I'm in auto white balance, I'm in auto exposure, I have autofocus on, and so on. Now that we connected the CCU-IP to a serial device, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to connect a network device. So to connect network devices is pretty simple. All you need to do is connect the CCU-IP to the same router that the PTZ is connected to. From there, you'll notice that the CCU-IP comes with a default IP address of 192.168.1.108. Luckily for you, if you have an AIDA camera, it defaults at 192.168.1.188. And since it's on the same router, same network, you should be able to connect to it with ease. But if you did change the IP address on that camera, then you're going to need to change it as well. Just make sure that the PTZ itself is on the same network as the CCU-IP. We have a tutorial on that, a 2-minute Tuesday, just in case you don't know. And yeah, you can go ahead and check that out if you need any extra help. So if your IP is different, then we're going to head to setup. You're going to go to network attributes. Now, depending on if you need it or not, you can turn on DHCP. If not, you can go ahead and enter the static IP address, gateway, and mask if you need to change that as well. Since we don't have to in this case, we're going to make sure that we head to setup for the first time, head to add network device, and then here we're going to do the same thing just like serial. We're going to choose which camera button we want to assign it to. So in this case, we're going to do 2 since 1 is being taken by the serial command. We're going to either press enter here or here, doesn't matter where. Next, we're going to add the protocol. So the Visca protocol for our PTZs is going to be either Visca UDP or Sony Visca UDP. We can go with Visca UDP for this one. There's also OnVIF and Visca TCP if you need it. And then you have your IP address. So this is going to be the IP address of the PTZ you're trying to connect to. So as I mentioned before, the default for this PTZ that I have right next to me is 192.168.1. And then if you need to, skip that space, because if you enter another number, you're going to notice that it's just going to keep building off of it. You can delete by going left and then press right if you want to go to the next spot. 188. And then once you're done with that, you're going to press enter. And then it comes to the port. So the port right here, the Visca port for our PTZs is just going to be 52381. If you don't know what the Visca port is or it's not working, make sure that you check with your user manual if you have a third-party PTZ. Once you're done, press enter. You're going to see setting successful, and it'll lead you to another one of these quick startup for another one. Since we don't have another one to connect, we're going to press escape. Escape one more time, and then we're still on camera 1. If you notice we push camera 2, these buttons should stay lit up. Now that we have the network portion set up, let's go take a look at what the CCU-IP can do. So starting off the features with the joystick itself, like I mentioned before, it's nice to put your hand right here and rest it so you can get some pretty accurate movement right here. So we're going to start off up, down, left, right. You have your diagonals. And then if you want to zoom in, you could just twist the knob right, zoom out, twist it to the left. And here you can change your PT speed. So right now it's at 8, right? We're going to go ahead and lower it to the lowest, and you'll notice a considerable difference. You also have some zoom speed differences right here. So if you just raise this up, it'll go faster. Now if you want to zoom in with the knob right here, right to the right is the tele, and then to the left is the wide. Now moving on to this, we're going to have our white balance and exposure as mentioned before. You can cycle between the modes by pressing mode. So this is indoor, we have outdoor, one push, ATW, manual. And if you don't like it, you can always put it back to auto. And then you have your R gain and blue gain. So notice that it'll automatically set it to manual. No need to press mode. And then when you click this, it'll change to blue gain. So you can adjust your blue and red gain on the fly. And then of course you could always re-auto it. Now for exposure, you have your brightness priority, you have your shutter priority, iris priority, manual exposure, and of course auto exposure. So when you're using these buttons, you're going to automatically set it to whatever it's trying to adjust. So brightness priority is one of them. So you can raise the brightness right away. Or you can do iris priority. So depending on how much light you have, this would probably be a better option. In this case, we're going to change it back to auto. So here we have our camera select. So right now we're doing camera 1, we're doing Visca connection, so RS-232. And then if we go to cam 2, we have the Ethernet connection. Now moving to the AIDA specific features, we have our preset speed up and preset speed down. So if you remember earlier, if you watched the 2-Minute Tuesday, you remember how to set presets on this guy already. But just in case you don't know, we're going to go ahead and we're going to find a spot that we like. There's a lot of shadow coming from the light source. So maybe we like this one. We're going to hold down the button that we want the preset to be on. So it's either 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 0. Hold it down. It's going to say preset 1. And then once it disappears, it's saved. So if I move out and I press 1 again, it'll go right back to that preset. So let's set another one, maybe on this ring right here. Holding down 2 for preset 2. And then if I go to 1, it'll go right back to that preset. And if I go to 2, it'll go to that one. Now, the point of preset speed up and down is to just alternate the speeds of which the preset moves. So for example, if I want it to go really fast to the next preset, we're gonna just keep pressing preset speed up, and then eventually it will be at its fastest. Now, if that's too fast for you, we can lower this, right? So just push this a couple times, and then you're gonna notice it's gonna get a little slower each time. So to its slowest. You could go slower than that. So eventually it's gonna get there. Almost there. And voila. We also have freeze preset, so we're gonna go ahead and speed this up real quick so we don't have to wait that long. If we do freeze preset, what it basically does is that every time you go to your next preset, it's gonna freeze the screen until you reach its position of preset, and then it'll display video right after that, right? So this is good if you have maybe movement or anything like that that you don't want to see and you just want to cut straight to the next scene. You can go ahead and use freeze preset like that. I'm gonna turn that off. We have backlight, we have mirror, we have flip, and then we have our focus. So when we're using focus, on autofocus, it does it for us, right? If we use near or far, it's gonna automatically put it in manual focus, and it'll stay like that until you press auto again, right? So this is good if you wanna get that fine-tuned focus that you're looking for. You can also press it instead of holding it to get the increments, and you can get it a little bit more precise than just holding it down and then letting go when you think it's good. So that's also good to use. Looks nice. Alrighty, so setting that back, we can also enter the menu of the PTZ itself. So if we press the menu right here, we'll be hit with our menu. We can use the joystick to maneuver through it, and we can press right to enter the submenu. Now, notice that I can't press back because it's going to give me different options to turn on and off, right? So in order to go back to the main menu, we need to press menu back. So now I can go through the main menu again. Now there are certain features on here that only allow, let's say for example, I want to change the format You can't click enter here. It won't automatically select that format. You will have to press menu enter. That is the only time you'll ever use that button unless your third-party PTZ uses menu enter as well as a command. But most of the time, all of this is already done manually. You just have to cycle through it and you're good to go. So menu back to get out of there, and then you're back to normal. Lastly, we have the setup. So if you want to go to the setup of the keyboard, we did briefly see this. You have your network device, serial device, device list. So this device list just lets you know which each of these 7 camera inquiries there are. So it'll show you camera 1 has a serial device, camera 2 has a network device, and so on. You have your network attributes. So if you're trying to change the CCU-IP IP address or anything like that to DHCP, you can do that. You have the backlight. So if you want to turn the backlight off, you don't like the fancy colors or anything like that, you can do it by changing that to off and pressing enter. You can also do the same by turning off the button tone by turning that to off and pressing enter, and it won't make a beep anymore. You could factory reset the camera, so it'll ask you one more time, you just press enter twice. In this case, we don't need to do that. System info is just going to show you some software, hardware, web version, as well as the gateway and subnet mask. So this is a good place to let your AIDA support guy know what version you have if you're having any trouble. And then VSCO response, you could just leave that as enabled. And then lastly, one more thing is the preset buttons right here. So if you don't want to hold them down, you can also do set, and then you just enter a number 2, and then you press enter to set that preset. You can also delete presets by pressing delete preset, reset, the number you want to delete, and then enter. So right now, we cannot go to 2 anymore. We deleted it. So now that you know the ins and outs of the CCU-IP, the last thing we have to talk about is the web portal. The web portal is more of the back-end portion of the CCU-IP, and it can be used to change, like, let's say, the camera identifiers or any other settings that the CCU-IP has internally. You can go ahead and connect to this by connecting to a computer on the same router and entering the IP address of the CCU-IP. So let's go take a look. All right, now to connect to the CCU-IP address, all you need to do is just type in the address here, and you'll be met with the login page. Now for the login page, for the username, type in admin. For the password, it's going to be 6 ones, so 111111. Press enter. You're going to be met with the device management tab. Now under this management tab, you're going to see all 7 of your cameras that you can program, as well as what they're connected to right now. So for example, first one, we connected it to the VSCO serial command. That's done. For the second one, we connected it to the IP. That's done. For these 5 right here, we didn't do anything to them, but we can automatically create or modify it if there's an existing one and change them with ease. Moving on to settings, you can go to the network, which is going to change the IP address of the CCU unit itself. So if you want to change the CCU-IP network type to DHCP, or you want to change the IP address itself, you can change it here. Under the upgrade, you're going to be using this for firmware upgrades. So if we release anything on aidaimaging.com/download, you can go ahead and upload it here. For factory reset, this is just going to factory reset the values of the CCU-IP unit itself. For reboot, this is just a power cycle, so you're not going to lose any settings on this. Maybe a button or light got stuck, you can go ahead and reboot that. For import and export, they have no feature right now. For account, this is used for if you want to create or delete usernames or modify passwords. So if you don't like the 111111, you can go ahead and change that. And then under version, you're just going to find the hardware, software, or web version. This is going to be helpful if you're asking for support and they ask you for these versions, then they can help you out a little faster. And that about wraps up the CCU-IP in-depth look. Thanks for watching. If you did make it to the very end, you are the truest of all AIDA warriors. I appreciate you guys very much for all the support, as well as the likes, comments, subscribes, and ringing that notification bell. I'll see you guys in the next video.